So, all right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started today on reviews, building your brand, and other marketing techniques that can help you in this market to stand out from the crowd. So, thank you, Madeline, for being here today. We're looking forward to hearing to what you have to say. So,
All right.
you may go for it. Thank you.
All righty. No offense, but I'm going to mute you just in case.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the intro. You can see our topic here. We're going to, here's just a quick overview of what we're going to talk about. So why do reviews matter? How do you get them? Building your brand, leveraging social media, some tools that are available, how to optimize your time, and then we'll have some Q&A at the end. So why do reviews or testimonials even matter? You could have the ultimate value proposition kind of explaining everything that you're going to be doing for your buyer, the knowledge that you have, the offer strategies you use, etc. But until you kind of make that connection, that personal connection with them, it's not always going to matter. I mean, it depends on personality, but that connection is something that everyone for the most part yearns for. And so just focusing on your value proposition and I'm going to do this can kind of sometimes come across as salesy. So you want to be able to connect your value proposition to real stories and scenarios for how you've solved your past clients' problems in the past. So it's even more powerful if it's in their words and not yours, and gives you a little bit more credibility. So you can think of it as buyers hearing from other buyers or sellers hearing from other sellers. So, and then of course, and you want to have some of this prepared ahead of time, but then in real time, when you're sitting in a strategy session or something, you should be learning about your prospective client and you should be able to off the cuff relate their situation to similar situations in the past and how you've solved some of those problems. Problem solving is negative, but it's not really a problem. It's just whatever their scenario is, and you're going to be the solution. And so these kinds of conversations are how you help to build trust kind of early on in that new client relationship. So how to get reviews. Realistically, you should be attending all of your closings already. And if you do, it's an easy ask. I'm going to actually turn you off, Kathy, if I can. Actually, I don't know how. Never mind. Make it simple for them. Have a QR code for them to scan or a postcard that they can take home, put on their fridge for later. If they're open to it, you can take your phone out, take a quick video with them. You should know your clients at this point well enough to know that if they're going to be up for something like that or not. Another tip, if you think they're not necessarily the type that's going to sit down and write something, or maybe they're not going to want to be on camera, use an audio recorder on your phone. Some phones have them built in. I just downloaded a free audio recorder. It's like an old-fashioned tape recorder on an app, and you can just ask them to say a few words. Super easy, and you can transcribe this later. At the end of the day, the easier you make it for your clients, the more reviews and the more stories you're going to successfully gather and have for later. So what about types of reviews and where to post? So good old-fashioned Google Zillow reviews. If I had to say which one to prioritize, I would probably say Google. Almost everyone looks up people on Google. I mean, Google is a verb now. You Google something. So I would say Google would be the priority. We have a quick link, TGT 5star.com. that goes, if you click on that link or you go right to that link, it opens into a page that they can just leave a review. They just type it, send it, and it's done. Or QR codes, like I said earlier. Depending on the types of reviews that you collect, if it's a typed one, a video, audio, you can pretty much adapt it to whatever social media platform or whatever other platform you're going to prioritize. If you want to spend a little extra time, you can pretty much adapt any form of review for any purpose. It just might take you a little extra time to adapt it. So don't forget that your ultimate goal is to tell that story and give you credibility. There's nothing wrong with, like this one on the left, taking review, copying it, pasting it, and putting it on a graphic. But if you do that, add in more details in the caption, expand the story, add your perspective. For the most part, a lot of us, myself included, we're not necessarily going to read all that text. That's a lot of text. Looks impressive, but there's a lot there. So if you do that, make sure you're expanding in the caption. However, the one on the right, you can see has kind of been trimmed down and reformatted to kind of grab attention visually a little bit faster. You're saying, this is what the challenge was or the problem. This is what the solution was. And this one, if you actually read all that text on the left, there's two kind of things you can pick out from this and make graphics from. They're saying that they're first-time home buyers, and they had, this accessibility stuff. So you can take that and turn it into two separate stories. Almost every deal that you do, buy side or list side, there's going to have been some kind of problem or challenge that you had to solve. It might be a small one, or it might be a big one, but there's going to be something. I mean, there's a reason people hire realtors to help them get through this. I mean, you have to do some problem solving with pretty much every deal. So there's a story behind everything, and this one's a good example. So taking reviews and testimonials a little bit further as far as building your brand. So you already have your value proposition for your strategy sessions, but this is a little bit different. It's a little more individual and it's more public. It's less intimate. It's not one-on-one. So what unique perspective do you have that you can share with a wider audience? Target audience really should be anyone local. That's why local content is better. Whether they're, whether you're trying to get to someone that's ready to buy now or in 5 years or never, maybe they're never going to buy, but they know you and they can mention you to someone that they know. You're kind of in this for the long game. So do you want to be known as a local expert in a particular neighborhood? Do you want to specialize in working with military clients? Are you a relocation expert? What's your niche? And it can literally be anything. And it doesn't actually necessarily have to be real estate related. So the example that I have on here, this screenshot, I'm originally from Tulsa and I follow a few realtors there. And this is from an account, the 918 agent. His first viral reel on Instagram was a burger review in his quest to find the best burger in Oklahoma. Not real estate related, but he's expanded this into kind of experiences locally and food all across the state. And he's created this image that he's a local expert. He knows the area, he knows the people, he knows where people go, he knows communities. And this can, you can do this even if you're working in an area that you're not originally from. I know we have some agents on our team that are not originally from St. Louis. If you can portray that, if you can show that you're still knowledgeable, no one's going to question, oh, you're not even from St. Louis, I don't want to work with you. I don't live in Tulsa anymore, but if one of my old friends asked me if I knew any local agents, I would probably say to look this guy up because I feel like I know him and I know his personality from watching his videos. So that kind of stuff is powerful. And it seems kind of daunting. You're like, well, where do I start? You just have to find somewhere to start, focus on it, and just stick with it.
Hey, Madeline.
Yep.
How long are his videos? I'm just curious. Are they 30-second blurbs or like reels, or what are they that he's doing?
So the maximum length of reels is 90 seconds.
That's what I thought. Okay.
That's it. So, I mean, you can tell when you're watching them that he puts a lot of time into it. There's a lot of clips and things like that, but you can, you start small. 90 seconds is not, it's not that long. Now, if you're going to, we can talk more about this also later, but if you're going to repurpose videos for other areas like YouTube shorts have to be a minute or less. So if you're going to want to double dip and post in a bunch of places, maybe you need to give a 60-second timeline so that you can use, you don't have to make multiple versions of your stuff. So
got it.
We can talk more about that too. So just a note that bigger isn't necessarily better. Don't get caught up on how many followers you have compared to somebody else. Particularly if you're trying to emulate, another local agent. It's really about quality, and you can buy followers. So just because you see someone that has a lot of followers, that doesn't actually mean anything. How is your engagement? Don't underestimate the algorithm, which unfortunately the algorithm kind of changes all the time. You're never really sure what it's going to prioritize, but for the most part, Instagram at least prioritizes accounts that post regularly, engage with the comments that you get on your content, and then you also engage with other accounts, especially if you're engaging with accounts that are similar to yours. So challenge yourself and start small. Maybe you want to start with posting 1 story a day for a month, and then you add in a post a week, and then you want to do 2 stories a day and 2 posts a week, and then maybe you add in a reel every other week. You know, if you're going out, if you want to be a local expert and you want to highlight local things, maybe a reel, maybe that's what you do on Saturdays or you do on Sundays. It's a good weekend task. Kind of slowly build, add more things in. I mean, don't go overboard. Figure out kind of what your level is that you can manage and then stick with it. Yep.
I am of the age that I don't really understand the difference between a story and a reel. So can you please
Okay.
explain?
Yeah. So a reel, it lives on your feed. It's a permanent video that you post. It's like seeing a post on Facebook or Instagram. It's there and you're scrolling, you're going to see it. A story is not going to be on someone's feed. It's not going to show up as you're scrolling, but it's going to show up on your profile or at the top bar on Instagram as you're going across. And stories are temporary. They're up for 24 hours.
Oh,
So
only, okay.
and you can save stories. It's called highlighting them. You can highlight them and have them live on your profile and make like categories for them. So like if
Okay.
you want to do neighborhood tours, you can do stories walking around neighborhoods and then save them to a highlight, and say, you know, this is X neighborhood in Kirkwood or whatever. But they only live live, I guess, on, you know, the top of your profile for 24 hours. So that is where, and I'll talk about this more as well. The stories are where you can really put the human side of things in. You're basically bringing people along in your daily life. That's what stories are about. It's like a behind the scenes type of look. That's why stories are so popular, because it makes people feel like they're along with you. So like the guy that I posted that does the burger reviews, he's very active on stories as well. And he'll take you with him on these places in stories, and then you'll look and you'll find his full review later in his reel. So you're kind of getting a preview and then you're seeing it later, if that makes sense.
Wow. Okay.
Does that kind of clear up the difference a
Yeah.
little?
Well, yeah. I mean, I like I've gotten kind of hooked on the stories, at least on
They're
Instagram and
addictive.
Facebook. Yeah. And I do watch those every night, kind of. I just flip
Mhm.
through my stories. I get a little frustrated as the consumer though, because then like they go away and I wanted to go back and see that sometimes. So
Right.
sometimes that can get frustrating to me because I'm like, gosh, where'd that go? You know, and I didn't
Well, and they
realize it
might
was.
be saved on a highlight, especially on Instagram, and you may not know that they're there. But that's how they get you sucked in though, because you look for the same people that are putting stories up every day, and you're like, well, I don't want to miss it, so I gotta go in and catch up and watch my stories for the day. And that's how, you know, you kind of you encourage people to kind of get to know you, I guess, through your stories
Mhm.
in reels, but stories are more day to day behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Let's see where I was here. Okay, so with all of this, remember that your ultimate goal is to add the value and set yourself up as an expert. So if you just post your solds, is that adding value? Maybe if you include the story behind each sale, one of our agents does that. He puts up some pictures of the house. He says, oh, I sold this a few years ago. This is the story. This is what happened. But if you just post a house photo and the price, what's that giving? What value is that adding? It's not going to move the needle for you. Yeah, I guess it kind of on some level gives you credibility. Oh, look at all these things he sold, but there's no connection there. There's no personality there. So if you take nothing else away so far from this, remember that what you're posting should always be undercut with big word value. So your profile shows your value and your stories is what humanizes you. And then the reels kind of cross the boundaries with both. So I'm going to touch on some tools. There's so many tools out there that can help you make things easier and kind of keep things organized for you. I'm just going to highlight a few of them, but you can do some research, see what kind of fits in your own workflow and what makes sense to you, what's easy to understand for you. And you don't have to use any outside tools. I mean, Meta Business Suite and Instagram Reel Builder, there's already built-in tools for you. And you can just use those. I mean, I use them every day. But there's other things out there. You know, you can put reels together in CapCut or InShot. I don't have an iPhone, but I think iPhone actually lets you make videos as well. So you don't have to get fancy. Might only be the fancy iPhones. I don't know, since I don't have one. But there's other things like Plannable, or you can use a calendar to figure out when you want to post content. Of course, Chat GPT and AI, I'll talk more about this in a little bit, can help you come up with content. And then of course, Canva, which we use a lot, can help you organize, keep things consistent, and create new things. And then for lead capture or just giving extra value, you can use things like Linktree, which is free. That's what this kind of tall gray image is. It's our Linktree on our team page. It's just a link that I put in our bio that, you know, if someone clicks on it, or sometimes at the bottom of our posts, I'll say more info, link in bio or something like that. And you can see all these links of places for someone to go. To give them more value or get them to, you know, if, you know, we use Fellow for home value and stuff like that. You can have your Fellow in there if you're trying to get lead capture. There's so much out there. We could do a whole thing just about, you know, social media tools. One thing I'll just highlight real quick, you know, our team, we use Flipping Book. So it's great to have Flipping Book as that extra added value, you know, that you could put in your link tree. You put your buyer book, put your pre-list book, something available that it's almost like a preview. If you think of it this way, if someone from your social media goes to your buyer book, your buyer strategies, it's almost a preview of kind of what you would offer them if they were your client. Think of it that way. So Canva.
Hey, I'm sorry. So
Yeah.
the link tree, like where, if I wanted to do that, because I like that idea, where do you, I don't understand where it lives. Like,
so I don't think I have a screenshot. So if you go to you like your Instagram profile or even your Facebook profile, there's an area to add a link. Or you can put it in your bio. It's just a URL that someone can click on in your profile. Or I've seen some people use it in their email signature as well. You know, you could say something like, you know, it depends on what you're going to have on your link tree. You know, Fellow would be a good idea. If you want to put your buyer book, if you want to put a link for leaving a review for you. I mean, there's a lot. I will say you don't want to get too carried away. Like our team one, you could see there are probably like 6 things on there that might be actually too many, too much to read through. Kind of your target would be 3 or 4 links for someone to digest. But if you had a blog, you could put it on there. But, and then, you know, some people, like I like to go to people's links when I follow someone new. It's just a habit that I have. But you can also mention it in your posts. Like, this is what I'm talking about in my post. Learn more, link in bio. And you can actually direct people there. And you can use that link for anything. If you're on a story, you can put a link, you know, in your story. It's not a link in your bio, but it's still your link tree. And you can say, here's
is that what, when people link you to their store and stuff, is that what they're using? Like,
there's a bunch of different, like there's ones for group shopping and affiliate links and things, but Linktree is just exclusively for like links and things. And there's some basic analytics that you can see in the free version. Like you can see how many people click on things. There's a paid version of Linktree where you can actually see locations of where people are, things like that. So you can kind of go big or go small and just test your waters. But yeah. But I would definitely, Linktree easy. You set it up once, there it is. I would recommend just doing it. Okay, just going to briefly mention Canva. There's a paid version and a free version, like everything else. Can pretty much create anything you want on Canva. You can make posts. You can make reels. You can make flyers, brochures. You can even do print t-shirts and merchandise, business cards through Canva. I mean, they have the whole print shop now. So if you want to kind of rebrand yourself and do individual stuff, you can pretty much do everything in Canva if you want. If you don't know where to start, you can literally, this on the left, type in real estate in the search bar, see what comes up, see if something inspires you. I will say though, don't get too carried away, because there's a lot in there. If you're kind of trying to do individual branding and going away from like team colors, you still need to pick a color palette and stick with 3 or 4 colors. You still need to choose, just a few fonts, and not go crazy, because if you're going to make posts, you want there to be enough consistency that if one of your followers is scrolling, through their feed and they see one of your posts, they won't need to look at the name. They'll already know that it's yours. So if you want to have that kind of level of recognition and consistency. And we could do a whole thing on Canva, but that's all I'm going to say about that. So as far as time, you're probably thinking, how do I ever have enough time to do all of this? And really the short answer is the same as it is with everything. You have to prioritize it and you have to make the time. Time block and stack tasks. And no, not all of this is going to take a lot of time. Like stories are super easy. If you like to enjoy time outside in your garden on Sunday afternoons, why not sit in your garden and film a few stories or reels while you're there? I mean, double dip. And honestly, doing things like that, it's more of a personal touch anyway. You don't need to have a fancy setup with a green screen and all this stuff to film a story or a reel. Just do it in your real life. Or you can get a standing desk and build your posts for the week while you're putting time on the treadmill. Like, you can prioritize and make time for this if you want to. And just remember, you can offload some of this. You could hire a VA, you could get your kids involved. I actually know a few realtors here in Montana that they hire their teenage kids to put their reels together for them because they are way faster. But then they take the reel and they're the ones that actually post it. They put the text in and do all that, because at the end of the day, the most authentic content is going to come from you. It's not going to come from somebody else. So just say what you have to say, get it out there, post it, and move on. I do want to spend a little bit of time on reels. At least on Instagram, and if you have a creator account on Facebook, most followers are coming from reels. So we live in a super fast-paced, high consumption society, as you all know. You've watched your kids on their phone. They're just scrolling. It doesn't even seem like they stop sometimes. I know I do that too. It does not take long before they move on to something else. And so that first second, really the first half second, millisecond even, is what you have to grab someone's attention in that first millisecond. And so here's just a few examples of reel, like beginnings of reels. So this one on the left, you're not really sure what you're seeing is happening. And so it's kind of intriguing. You're like, okay, well, I need to keep watching. I'm not totally sure what's happening. These ones in the middle are like leading text. You want to keep watching so that you know what the point is. One of the most powerful things, is what you want to keep watching. And then this one on the right, that's actually the entire video. It just says that. There's no other text in there. There's no other view, but it's a hook to get you in, and then I'm directing to the caption where you're putting most of the content in the caption. So you can kind of experiment with these, and you don't have to stick with just one, but figure out what works. Just remember, you're invested in your video when you're watching it. You're going to enjoy it, but remember that first millisecond, you have to hook someone in. So figure out how you can do that. Like the 918 agent, his openings for all of them is, I'm at blank, still on my quest to find the best burger in Oklahoma. And then he starts through and goes backwards and starts his whole journey. Okay, so I'm going to try to narrate this. I recorded it yesterday. There's no sound, so it's just going to be me narrating this. I'm going to quickly show you kind of how to take a few clips and just use the Instagram builder to make a quick reel. And the clips they're not actually related to anything. It's just a fake thing, but okay. So, of course, you click the plus at the bottom, reel. You can, this little square thing, you select multiple clips. You can see they had a number up at the top. So the order that you select them is going to be the order that they automatically go in. It's going to try to connect audio to your clips and snip them. I haven't had the best luck with this. Sometimes it works. You can find some good audio this way. You're still going to want to edit it. Most of the time I just hit skip, which is what I just hit. You can swipe up to edit and zoom out, and you can see all of your clips now at the bottom. And you can reorder them if you didn't select them in the right way. Then you can go back and change how long they are just by clicking on them and dragging the yellow sliders back and forth. And then you can add audio here. I like to add audio that has a very strong beat to it, so that when I'm moving the clips around, you can see the sound waves, and I will drag the clips to match up with the sound waves. So it's a lot faster than trying to watch it, move it, and line things up. Like I just choose audio that has strong beat so I can visually line up all my clips to my audio. Just makes it a little more impactful if things line up. So that's what I'm doing here in the recording. And then I'm also going to show you, you can see how everything kind of times with the beat there. How to add text. There's an add text at the bottom. Type whatever you want. And you can have, I don't know if there's a limit to how many text boxes you can add. You can add as many as you want. You can change the font, the color. There's some animations that you can do. Here you're just worrying about what it says and what it looks like. And then after this, you can move it. If I ever get to it, here we go, moving it. It's going to give you some guides if you want to make sure it's straight or in the center. And then like the video clips, you can change how long it's on screen as well. You just click and adjust it the same way, and you can see it's kind of matching up with the ends of my clips. Then when you're satisfied with whatever's here, you just hit the blue arrow at the top and then type your caption, change your cover, and post. One more little tutorial if I can figure out how to go to the next one. Is this, oh, it's playing the same one.
Okay. Can I
Yeah.
ask, but that would take me an hour to do what you just did in 2 minutes. Because
It takes some
like,
practice.
yeah, well, how do you know that those beats are the right beats? Like I would get way too bogged down into the sound and I would be like, oh, I don't like it there. Oh, I want it on the boom of the timpani, or something. I don't know.
Right.
Like
Well, I
that,
mean, if you're wanting it to be on a big boom, that sound wave will be bigger than the others. So you'll
right.
visually still be able to tell. And some of it can be, I mean, if you don't want to have to worry about that, just choose audio that's a lot more smooth and calm. I mean, it kind of is up to what your preference is.
Right. And
Yeah.
then do you always try to put the text with the same real in the same time? Like, or do you bring
Not
it in?
always. No. Sometimes I like to have the clip start first and then the text pops up a
Mhm.
second later. That's what I do on our listing tour ones.
Okay.
And I'll usually only show that at the beginning because I don't want it to cover the house during the rest of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I mean, you can play with it. If you're doing a house tour and you want to show on the clips, like, oh, this is the primary suite, this is the,
Mhm.
the rec room or movie room, you can add text, basically like a caption for each clip. Or if that's too much work, you don't even have to worry about it. Just put the address at the beginning and put your description of the listing in the caption. I mean, and you can even put on a screen like, learn more caption. You don't have to put it all in the video. It's just you have to get people's attention at the very beginning, but then how you actually give the value can be kind of however you want, if that makes sense. I mean, you
Mhm.
can make these complicated. I maybe made that recording a little bit complicated, or it can be simple. That was with multiple clips. If you do a quick video that's one take, one 60-second or 90-second clip, then you don't have to worry about moving any of that around. Maybe you only have to cut out the beginning if you didn't press record fast enough or you had a pause or something. Like maybe then you're only taking out the awkward stuff at the beginning and the end.
Right.
So you can make it easy. Or
Got
there's
it.
capability in there to, make it more complicated. It's kind of up to you.
I know
That's
you're
why,
gonna
If
I
you
know.
know how I showed you at the beginning, how it tried to match audio and cut
Mhm.
things, sometimes that works really well. So if you're just trying to show a montage of like cute neighborhood, like, the painted ladies in Lafayette Square, you just want to talk about them and you have a bunch of little clips of them, just click on the clips, let it match the audio, and then you don't even have to move anything around. Just go with whatever it put together. Um, Sometimes it will work well. Some of the audio, sometimes it works better than others. But you can see them and preview them all,
Mhm.
and see if you like it. Um,
Okay.
and the other thing in which I didn't show is, if it matches up your audio perfectly, but maybe it's not showing the right part of your clip, you can click on it and then there's an option at the bottom that says like reframe or something, and you can just move which part of the clip is visible. We can do a tutorial on that separately too, but there's a lot of, I mean, there's a good amount of editing capabilities in Instagram, but it does take some time until you kind of learn how to do it all. But it becomes habit like anything, you learn a new skill. So for this one, I'm just going to show how to add captions if you're going to do recordings of yourself. So let's see how this one goes. All right, so I'm going to select, and this is one clip like I was just talking about. So here's Mark. You're going to click on the little squares at the top. My little Zoom bar is in the way. Hit captions. It's going to automatically transcribe the audio. This is where it's super important that you are clear when you're talking. Maybe you have to record it a few times because you're not enunciating or not slow enough. For the most part, though, it's pretty accurate with Mark. He has a loud voice. You can click on it and then preview all the text, can make any changes that you need. Maybe it has the wrong spelling for a word like accept or something like that. You can change the fonts and the colors like you can with anything else. And then you can move it around. And you can see all these guides. So those guides are important because not everyone's phone ratio is going to be the same as yours. So it's basically telling you you need to have stuff here so that it's going to be visible for everybody. I tend to put things kind of in the bottom third in the middle. And you can see it also kind of previews your like buttons and everything that might cover your text when you post it. It didn't work when I tried to save this for some reason. Sometimes if your Wi-Fi is not good, it doesn't work. But I always recommend this top right button, the down arrow with the line. You want to, if you make changes to your video, you're building your video in Instagram, save the finished video to your phone. Because if it didn't post right, you don't want to have to start over. If you want to post it somewhere else, like Facebook or YouTube or wherever, you want to be able to do that without having to recreate it separately. And it's good to just have a log of those things because maybe you want to use them for something. Maybe you want to put them in and embed them in your flipping book or something. Like you want to have that content for later. So keep a stock of that kind of stuff. And it'll just save to your camera roll on your phone. And then we use Slack. So I just save them on my camera roll and then I send them to myself in Slack so that I have them on my computer. That's what I do. Okay, let me see if I can go to the next slide without it playing. Nope, stop that. There we go. Okay, just quickly, I'm going to talk about AI for a little bit and ChatGPT. Another huge tool, obviously, that's only getting more and more relevant. You can use it to get topics, improve, or even write your captions, reword things for you. Just you have to remember that it's not going to give you, for the most part, or really ever, something that's perfect and you can just copy and paste. It may not even be accurate. So you have to check and you have to pay attention to that. And I'll show you some examples, but I like to combine results to get really what I'm after. So here's some examples. The prompt at the top, real estate agents, social media post ideas. And then I highlighted all 12 ideas that it came. And not all of these are particularly clever or groundbreaking or things you haven't seen before, like property showcase or a market update, but still some of these might inspire you. I mean, before and after photos, an interactive poll, frequently asked questions, behind the scenes. You never really know what it's going to give you because it's constantly learning. So it never hurts to just put prompts in there and see what it comes up with. If you took this 12 ideas and you made that your priority. This is my 12 weeks of topics for what I'm going to post. I mean, that's a long time. Or maybe that's each month they're going to focus on a different thing, and that's a whole year's worth of content. So think of it that way. For this one was, I'm trying to generate a caption. So my prompt was social media caption for a real estate team. We just hit some big milestones last week. We served 5,000 families and reached 2 billion in sales volume. I didn't want it to sound so mechanical. So I'm like, give me a caption, something interesting. And I like to hit, the refresh button so I get multiple results, and it will change them a little bit every time. And then you can see in the green, that's what I highlighted that I liked. I didn't really like the second result. And so then I combined them into what the finished caption was on the right, just by hitting. And I've made captions or, other with as many as 11 results that I then combined pieces of. There's no limit to how many things you can put in here. It doesn't care. It's not offended. It's a computer. So use it. Let's see. I think, I didn't have another example, but you can imagine.
Can I ask you a question about Chat GPT?
Yeah.
Do you try to make sure that your posts are kind of sounding like the same voice? Because like I had an agent, you could 100% tell that she was using Chat GPT in her responses to me, and it was so not what she sounded like on the phone that it was so fake. I was like ridiculous. We're glad we're embarking on this, adventure together. She never talked like that. Like it was just so it didn't sound right at all. So how are you representing this whole team, making sure that the voice development team is like unified? You know what I mean?
Well, some of that is just your own judgment. Like I didn't like some of those results. I'm like, I would never say that. Some of it is that just recognizing what you get. I mean, you can give it guidelines. You can say, give me a casual description of this, or give me a inspiring, or you can say edgy. I mean, you can give it descriptors for how you want it to. The edgy one is always a little interesting what you get. I've not actually done this, but I'm pretty sure you can actually send it writing samples or put in your prompt, be like, using this as a sample, rewrite this in that tone of voice or whatever. Maybe not like that. That was confusing, but you can give it something to reference. One of my favorite videos that I watched a million times is it's a job. It's a letter of resignation written in the tone of voice of Moira Rose from Schitt's Creek. So it is hilarious, and it sounds exactly like her. So even if you don't have like you're not sure how to put your own samples in there or something, if there's someone that you admire, someone that's well known or whatever, that you like the way they speak or they write, you can actually reference them and say, write like this person and give me a caption about this, and it will be able to do it. I mean, AI is all knowing, so which is scary, but anyway, I highly recommend looking or typing things in the voice of Moira Rose. I would highly recommend. So anyway, in sum, with all of this to say, I know we kind of went all over the place, is social media is about building your personal brand and credibility, ultimately convert those followers to leads someday, or people that are going to refer you. You're leading with value, and then you're bolstering with those real world stories from your clients, from reviews or, whatever it is. And you're basically showcasing how knowledgeable you are, but also that you can practically apply that knowledge to help people with their real estate goals or whatever their goals are. So you're kind of treating social media like your portfolio. It's kind of your living, breathing value proposition that just kind of lives out there at all times. So what's posted on your feed, that's your portfolio. And then, you're adding in like I said, the practical knowledge, how you've actually solved problems and helped people. And then you're humanizing yourself in things like stories. So you're showing that you're a real person that has all these skills and you can help them achieve whatever their goals are. So, it looks like I have a chat. So Q&A. I have an LOL. Any questions? Yes.
I know you and I talked about this a little bit behind the scenes, but as a realtor on a team that does have color branding and things like that, would you recommend that we stick with our color branding and use that because we have already have some templates you've created and done that kind
Mhm.
of thing? Or do you find that, if you're not, I don't know, I find that's a hard thing to decide what to do. Do I go off
It
and do
is,
something
yeah.
that, yeah, and I like the idea of using the tools that I have because I'm not real creative, frankly, and, I
Mhm.
get frustrated sometimes on Canva trying to do my own thing. So I like that idea, but does it does it depersonalize our message if we're doing that? I guess that's I know that sounds, I know
Well,
you're
and
doing it,
you
but
mentioned all the templates and stuff that I've made. It's like
right.
you have to take those as the base and still make it your own in some way. If it's
Mhm.
not by making the graphic your own, then it needs to be with what you say when you post it. Like you need to
Yeah.
add in that perspective that's uniquely yours in some way.
Okay.
Um, you know, and some of the graphics that I've made for you guys, because I don't trust you, I have certain things locked that you can't edit them. But you can still copy the templates and make them your own. As far as coloring, kind of up to you what you're comfortable with. I mean, you could do like weird navy and gold. Maybe you do like a transparency of navy. So it's a muted version, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. Or like you just use pieces of it. So maybe the base of all your stuff is like a cream color, but then you use navy text. Um, or things like you can call back to your team colors without just using your team colors, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
But I think, I mean, as far as I would recommend staying in neutrals if you're gonna kind of go off and do your own thing. Don't necessarily come up with a new like navy and gold is not I mean it's neutral, but it's not necessarily neutral. Use those earth tones if you're not really sure where to go, because it's just
Mhm.
recognizable. It's easy to stick within earth tones. Greens like terracotta creams, things like that. It's kind of up to your comfort level. I mean, if you're going to do that, like I said earlier, you have to be consistent. Don't post something that's orange and then yellow and then green and then red and then like be consistent. Um, that's why neutrals, maybe you just have a base color and you choose one other color. Maybe it's a team
Mhm.
color or something else, but stick to
That's
that.
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
We got some people in the room. What questions you Nikki has a question.
Yeah, do
Mhm.
you recommend a separate Instagram or Facebook account for just your business? Or do you think it's best to kind of gel your personal life and with your business, like in stories and in posts? Like I have one account, and so sometimes I'm posting about my kids, sometimes I'm posting about my work. My
Mhm.
sister was mentioning maybe get like just a separate account, just where you're only doing your business.
It kind of depends on a few things. I mean, having your business stuff and personal stuff, you're kind of blending that individualness, so it makes you more human.
Mhm.
But if you're not comfortable with, what if you do get a big following? Do you want thousands of people to see your kids? So it's kind of, you have to balance, then are you going to hold back posting certain things? You have to kind
Mhm.
of decide what you're comfortable with being out there. I know a lot of people that have a personal one and then a real estate one, and that's totally fine. But if you're going to have a business one only, you still have to have some elements that are personal,
Humanizing.
not necessarily your kids or your kids' games, but those clips, like I said, you're sitting in your yard talking about a great, final inspection or something. Like you need to have something that's humanizing, even if it's not all of your personal life. I hope that helps.
Mhm.
Yes, thank you.
Lisa, do you have any questions?
I mean, I'm not very good with technology and social media, so this is all very interesting to me. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out how much to combine, mix my personal life with,
Yeah,
I don't want to be too
I feel like we
business
don't, yeah,
for the people that are like, we just wanted to see your kids.
right.
And so I'm still trying to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, I think it's a challenge to mix, but I also find it's less to manage, so if you just mix, and I do get the most engagement on personal things, honestly. So if I want people to stay on my page and seeing my page, then I guess I want to keep it that way. I mean, not everyone has a real
Mhm.
estate need right now, right?
Right.
So, I mean, I think I've had people come to me from my Facebook page. Like I had a couple actually, one being an ex, college roommate of mine who kept in touch via Facebook, whose kids moved to St. Louis. That's how I got them as a client. So, and he wouldn't have known that had he not been on my personal page and seen my real estate business, right? So I think it can have a lot of benefit to keep it just one. But,
Right.
at the end of the day, I don't have little kids anymore. So my situation, I do understand, wanting to protect that when you have smaller children specifically. Like I can understand that a little bit more.
Well, it kind of depends on what your goal is. I mean, if you want to basically make sure, if you want to keep it mostly personal, but you just want there to be an undercurrent of, you want everyone that you know to know that you're in real estate and you're knowledgeable and you can help them when they're ready, then maybe it is mostly personal. And you're not
Yeah.
trying to get new followers. You're just trying to make sure people that are already in your SOI, your sphere, you just want to make sure they know, then that's one thing. But if you want to take it and make it bigger and kind of get more local followers that are people that don't know you personally, then you kind of have to find the balance. It kind of depends. And Facebook is gonna be, unless you change your account to be a creator or a professional account, you're gonna only be posting to people that you're friends with. So you have to keep that in mind. Whereas Instagram, you can have a private Instagram, but if you have a public one, that reach is not just people that you're friends with or that follow you because of the algorithm. It's going to push it out to other people if Instagram thinks that it's relevant. So it kind of, depending on if you're posting on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever it is, it's going to kind of change a little bit with what you need to do.
Can you define engagement on your profile, what that specifically means on Instagram and what that specifically means on Facebook? I think I know, but can you define it for us?
So Facebook and Instagram pay attention. If you post something and someone comments and you never comment back or like it or do anything, that's almost like a red flag. I mean, that sounds more intense than it is. But if you hop in, you respond to them, within 24 hours, that's showing Instagram and Facebook that you're an active, engaged account. Where if they give you more people to engage with, you're going to keep them engaged. You're going to keep them. It's almost self-serving for Instagram and Facebook because they're like, oh, this person is engaged. If we send them more people, they're going to keep more people on our app because they're going to engage back with them. So you can think of it that way. Same thing with if someone sends you a message, if you never open it, you never respond, again, it's kind of like a red flag to them. They're like, oh, they're not really invested. They're not going to do anything. So like posting regularly, that doesn't have to mean every day, just means regularly. If regularly for you is once a week or every Friday, then Instagram, they pay attention to that. If you just go radio silent, you don't post for 3 months, they're paying attention to that. Then when you start posting again, you're going to notice, oh, these people that used to engage with me don't engage anymore because they're probably not seeing it anymore because you got kicked off the algorithm. So it's just, and like I said, Instagram in particular, they change their rules all the time with what they're prioritizing. Before Reels, way back when Instagram was first, everything was chronological. So when you went to your feed, you just saw everything everyone that you followed, you just saw it all in order from when they posted it. Then they changed things to prioritize and have the algorithm like, oh, we're only going to show you things we think you're going to like. And it was still just images. Then they added the carousels. Then they were prioritizing carousels, which is multiple images. Now we have the reels, and now reels are prioritized over everything. And so you kind of you just have to figure out how much time are you willing to put in, what's your comfort level with, what you can create, and just do it regularly. Put time into it. You're not going to see, because of the algorithm and stuff, you're not going to see results in a week, maybe a month, maybe not even 2 months. You just have to stick with it and do it and don't give up on it. And eventually, I mean, it's a long game, like I said. And if you're just trying to keep people that are already following you in the know, you know, if you will, then maybe you don't necessarily care about this algorithm stuff because
Mhm.
you're just trying to keep them informed that, oh, I'm a realtor if you ever need it. We're already friends, but just so you know. So it kind of depends on what your goal is.
Okay, and real quick, explain to me again, if you post a story in Instagram, it goes to Facebook, correct?
Only if you have your accounts linked.
Okay, got it. Okay.
And it will tell you. So when I post a story on our Galvin team Instagram, when I hit share at the bottom, it actually shows me the Facebook icon. So I
Okay.
know that when I hit share, it's going to both. And I tend to work out of Instagram mostly, but I can see like when I'm posting, there's an option at the bottom, share also to Facebook. You just make sure it's turned on.
Okay.
It should be automatic.
Turned on right there or turned on in the back setting
You
or
can
something?
change it in your settings. Like I have it, so it should be automatic, but it's always good to check just to make sure.
Got it.
But you just have to make sure those accounts are linked.
So the fact that I scroll through that explains why all my Instagram story people are the same every day pretty much, because it's the same people I'm looking at, right?
But you're
Like,
only going to see stories from people that you follow. I mean, you'll see ads
oh,
in
right.
between. Like if there's a couple ways to watch stories. If you go to an individual's profile, you can click on their
Yeah, I don't do that.
headshot and do that. Or, you know, at the top, you have all the little bubbles. Then you're just going to go through them all and it'll put some ads and some things, but you're only going to see stories from people that you follow.
Got it.
The algorithm doesn't really, well, it works because it's prioritizing certain stories first that it thinks you're going to like more, but it's not going to kick in random other people. That could change down the road. Like I said, they change things all the time, but yeah,
Okay.
there's probably 10 accounts that I watch their stories every day. And they're the ones that show up first on
Yeah.
the top of my screen.
Yeah. Got it. All right. Any other questions?